Somewhere in the middle of the two extremes lies a world of open discourse. Probing the depths of the in-between. Welcome to Gray Matters Radio with your host, Michael Devine.
Good evening, everybody. Michael Devine here, Gray Matters Radio, and still here. I know it comes like a running joke every week that I still have a show and I wasn't canceled, but I am still here and not canceled. So welcome to Gray Matters. What is Gray Matters Radio, just in case it's your first time listening to the show? Well, Gray Matters, it's a show. It's a show that operates somewhere in the world of the in-between. In between what, you ask? Well, unless you've been, sleeping underneath a rock for the last, 50 years, we have these two things. They're called political parties, and they've kind of polarized the nation. So this is a show that operates in between the Democrats and Republicans. So who am I? I'm Michael Devine. I am your host. And what actually qualifies me, Michael Devine, to be your host? Well, I'm a counselor. I'm a counselor with a conscience. I saw the world kind of going down the shitter from my therapist seat, and one family, one individual at a time, I realized it was time for me to save the world. It was time for me to bring my brand of therapy to the masses and save everything. So naturally, I couldn't do it alone. I needed some help. I needed some people to come along with me on this journey because I couldn't do it on my own. Besides, I'm a little colorblind, so, I can't really identify any other color, so I figure I'm going to bring a lot more people with me into the gray, so I'm not really as alone. I got some separation anxiety. I once locked myself in a car going to daycare after kindergarten, so, yeah, I want to say it, but this isn't my therapy hour. So I got my good friend, Bill Reed, owner of armchairqb.org, with me tonight. How you doing, Bill?
Hello, Michael. Good to see you again.
And then I got our good buddy, Fro. Fro, what's up, my man?
Good evening. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, no, thank you for being here. Tonight's show is actually just like everything in this country. There's some curveballs being thrown at us. So originally, when I did the show, I pretty much told my friends going, hey, I want everyone to be on the show, some capacity, one way or another. Find a topic that you're passionate about, you care about, talk about. And so Fro is one of our buddies where he's like, hey, let's do some sports, it's sports season. So we're like, hey, it's bowl season, playoffs kind of started. And so we were going to talk about sports tonight. But, well, obviously, just like in life, some curveballs kind of happened. There was a shutdown. There's a wall being built. Maybe it's being built. I don't know. But some arguments started on Facebook. Maybe not even an argument. I think a good, healthy debate among friends. And I was like, all right, we're going to talk about this tonight. But before we dive into that, because just like a prostate exam, we want to warm you up before we really get up in there. Bill, I just want to say I'm sorry, man.
I would just like to say before we get started that this is a sports show. Okay, your show is like sports.
It is, yeah.
And just like the Chicago Bears, your show will break the viewers and listeners' hearts.
They will. Well, half the hearts. Half their hearts are going to be, broken. Half are going to feel like their heart is being broken until then victory. So, yeah, my Eagles won tonight by a missed field goal, a clank of a field goal after they iced the kicker.
Clank.
A double clank, mind you.
Ray Finkel came out of retirement tonight and made an appearance at Soldier Field.
Yeah, that was rough. I'm not gonna lie, because
Fro
came over right in that last drive, right after the Eagles went up, right. And I'm not gonna lie, I saw them driving. I'm like, they ain't gonna win it. Fro's over here, and I'm being a good friend because Fro's coming over to be on the show, and I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to, because Fro knows I'm a diehard Eagles fan, but he's a hardcore Steelers fan, so he knows the emotions.
It's rough.
It is rough, But then, just like that, because of Fro coming over, I don't know if the winds, like a butterfly effect, to change the physics of the planet. I don't know. But Fro and I are both agreed. So Fro did not come over at the time he did, that field goal would have gone in.
It was pretty timely because right during the first attempt after he was iced, the kicker, what was his name?
Cody Parkey.
Parkey.
Cody Parkey.
On the second attempt, I was chanting, fumble, block, slip, fumble, block, slip. And None of those things happened, but the double
No.
clank kicked in, and
Yeah.
wow.
By the way, to all the Chicago fans listening, we will be releasing Parky's home address later here tonight for all of you to
Did you see-
go
did you-
and thank him in person.
Did you see where Brandon Graham, the DN of the Eagles, he actually tweeted a thank you note to Cody Parkey?
No,
That's it's
so-
cold as ice.
I mean, that is cold as ice.
And that's it. That was a former teammate of his too.
Well,
That's
really?
cold as yeah. He was on the Eagles for a little bit. Yeah.
Man, he must not have got along or something. But
I don't know. Gosh, I mean, I'm not exactly thrilled with a victory like that. I mean, but a W is a W, and so I'm sitting here victorious one more week.
At the end of the broadcast tonight, they weren't focused on the Bears leaving the field, but someone was leaving the field. So I don't know if it was the team or the kicker or the coach or whoever, but you could hear on the television broadcast a chorus of boos for whoever was leaving the field. I was assuming that it was the kicker. Boo!
Because Bears fans are like Eagles fans, just maybe a little more dejected, where they're going to boo your own team sometimes rather than the opposing team.
Philly, though, and Fro, you would agree, being a diehard Pittsburgh fan and I'm a Chicago fan, that's some tough cities, but I don't know, Philadelphia is just one of those things. I mean, they got the Eagles, right? I mean,
we do, yeah.
You booed Santa Claus.
We did. We pelted them.
I mean,
Courthouse in the stadium.
Although they
home of ECW. I mean,
although,
it's a tough
you know,
city. Rocky Balboa.
Do you know they went back and actually have figured out that the whole batteries in the snowball was not actually true? That it was only a rumor. They could not find any evidence of it.
Philadelphia's mad at their good. Good name was disparaged. The fans.
Maybe it was the small hearing aid batteries, so it wouldn't cause as much damage. Maybe.
Yeah, so it was but here's the thing. It's like sports is, I mean, we live and die by these sports. And the thing is, it's like we don't even want to. Like every year, even like this year when the Eagles were kind of sucking it up, my wife would kind of like talk me through it. Like, honey, it's just not their year. I'd be like, I know. And then I have my 4-year-old, and I'm trying not to swear around her. But then it would just be like, oh, you got to be fucking shitting me. And then can't help it. They bring out emotions in us.
My son, 1 minute to go tonight. 1 minute to go. Starts climbing on my lap. I got to go to the bathroom, Daddy. I got to go to the bathroom. Yes. Actually, he wanted water, but I'm just going, now you want water? And he's like, I want water, but I'm thirsty. And I was like, come on. Life sucks. Get a helmet. Now you want water?
Now you want it? Come on. But that is the issue. When we're looking at it's sports, they bring out something in us, right? And I mean, it's something where people get in fights over. I mean, when I was at the this was like 4 years ago. It was Chip Kelly's last game, and we lost to the Redskins. And it was one of those, like, if we would have won it, we maybe had a chance, but then we lost in epic Chip Kelly fashion. And I'm talking like, even we got to sit in the players, the parents section. My sister hooked us up. She somehow knew the defensive coordinator's wife. Yeah. And so literally they were hurling insults. Like literally I got in trouble by one of the moms. I won't say her name is who the mom was. Like I said the F word a couple times, and she looked at me, and I'm like, sorry, ma'am. And so now, but everyone started swearing at the end. I saw a Redskins fan get the shit knocked out of him, and it's like, it's just a sport.
Do you ever YouTube, I do this all the time, it's like stadium fights or
dude,
fights.
They're awesome.
Because one video leads into another, which leads into another, and before you know it, there's like an hour has gone by, and it's you see some real, some of them you're just like, oh man, come on, you're standing there in the stands. There's not a lot of room for maneuverability anyway. Like, you're going to get in a fight.
Close quarters.
Someone's going to get pushed down 4 rows. And at the end of the day, you're all going to go to jail. Like, you all are going to jail. If you throw a fist, odds you're not getting out of it.
Now, I don't hear anything bad, though, about Steelers fans, though. That's the irony. Like, you guys are hardcore fans, but you don't hear about, mass beatings at Steelers games.
There wasn't, but there was an issue this year against the Chargers when they had I believe a 17-point lead. And the Steelers at home with a 17-point or above lead since 1972 are 850 and 2. However, they managed to mess up and blow this game. There is a picture in the stands of supposedly a older male Steeler fan pushing a pregnant Chargers fan that got circulated around. Now, I don't know the context. It wasn't video.
Wow.
Was it over ketchup? It was Heinz Field.
No.
She brought in Hunts. That's what did it.
She should have better known better.
I think an issue is they cut off beer sales in the third quarter, which I get, but when you're done drinking the third quarter,
you get angry.
You're at the height of your liquid courage.
Yes,
now, if you leave beer sales if you keep beer sales for the whole entire game, by the time the game's over, your liquid courage goes down. I think you're having a hard time balancing. You're stumbling, so your fighting probably won't be as intense. Just an opinion.
And that's, but here's the thing. Think about it, though. All right, so we grew up around that, right? I mean, I remember, gosh, it was like an Eagles game, and I remember, God, like someone was just swearing around, just kids everywhere, right? And I remember someone was like getting angry and everything, like, hey, why are you, swearing in front of the kids? And the guy was like, why the fuck you bring your kids? You don't want to hear them.
This isn't a family event.
Literally,
this is sports.
Now, mind you,
this is a carnival.
By a clown.
But here's the messed up thing. You know what my reaction was? Now, mind you, I was in grad school at the time. I'm a pretty in tune kind of guy, right? You know what my reaction was? It's like, yeah, why the fuck would you bring your kids here if they want to be
bringing kids for, man?
So the thing is, like, now, so we were accustomed to it, right? And it was just like, oh, that's just football, right? It's not real life, right? But now, let's start bringing it back a little bit more into politics, right? Now,
it goes hand in hand with politics.
Yeah, now all of a sudden, it used to be like politics. We'd have arguments at the bar, but it'd always be like you'd have a beer, buy each other a shot. Maybe you'd go like one comment too far, but then like 5 minutes later, you do a quiet fist pound. You drink, you're fine.
Keep it civil.
Yeah, you'd still be friends, right?
And 2 years later, you're not still arguing about who should have won the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so now politics now. It almost seems to be like that. Well, we have fights breaking out at rallies.
Gosh.
I mean, we have death threats. We have death threats now.
It's a sporting event. It's literally my team is Trump and your team is Clinton, or your team is right. And I mean, did you ever hear about? And I know we were kids, but did you ever hear about? People backing Bush were celebrating in the face of people that backed Dukakis.
Oh no!
Can you imagine that?
You never saw spiking at the football.
Right.
Never.
Well, that's what. Well, not like it is now. Like maybe. But today it's like people will fight you today, now, on either side, if you disparage Trump or Clinton or.
Well, I remember after the 2000 election was my first, election, and I remember there was a lot of because I'm no shame. My first time I ever voted, it was for, it was for Gore, and I remember being like disappointed, but it wasn't like Bush is gonna screw it up for all of it. It was just more like disappointment and frustration.
Even he won. He had won, and they came back. And actually, that's what hurt even more.
But it wasn't like, but the Bush supporters, like, and we had some really good friends that were really hardcore. I mean, there was no spiking of the football. There was no. It was just all right. Your guy won, and you rally behind it, maybe begrudgingly, right? But I started noticing it. I was talking with one of our equally mutual friends' wife, who's a very strong Trump supporter, and I asked her offline about this. I tried getting her to come on the air, but out of the current environment, she didn't really want to. And one of the things she said, it was actually interesting because she even admitted that, there was definitely a lot of times and a lot of things that I shouldn't have said, and I went too far. She goes, but where it all really started was, like out of the clear blue sky when I started supporting Trump before she even got militant about it. She started getting like people emailing her, like people she hasn't talked to in years, going, I thought I knew you. I can't believe you're a racist. So then she started getting like really defensive. And then she goes, then it's like, then you want to go then find other people that feel the same way. Now you got this tribe. And then it just
that's why people watch. Some people watch CNN, some people watch Fox News.
It's totally tribal.
There is some news going on in there, no doubt, but it's the news a lot of times what you want to hear. Like you want to hear on a certain channel that this politician is really good and this politician is really bad because that's what you believe and it makes you feel good. It's the same reason why I listen to local sports talk radio, right, or the local broadcasts for my teams because. Yes, they'll still call it down the middle, but they're pro Ohio State or they're pro. Someone scored a touchdown, they're like, "Yay!" And you're like, "Yeah!" I mean, it kind of reminds me of that.
It does. It's on this national level, and now because with sports, it's. Think about what we're arguing over, right? Pittsburgh against Philly against, Chicago. But we're still like, Bill and I our teams played each other, right? My team won in some way, shape, or form. But we're still here doing a show right now, right?
Thank you for letting everyone know that they didn't.
No problem. I gotta, of course, like sitting right behind Bill is the Nick Foles at last, Philly Inquirer, newspaper. How convenient is that?
Whatever.
It's just kind of funny,
Trump Foles.
But
Heard he has 5 children out of wedlock.
between me and I, the man's 612 years old.
Oh.
But we're able to sit here and talk about it, right?
I was mad. I sat at home and debated whether or not to come over, and I was like, you know what? No, don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Not even 30 seconds after the game. Let me just tell the listeners something.
Take
Not
the high
even
road.
30 seconds after the game ended, I get a text from Michael, the distinguished Michael Devine, right? Right? What does it say? Ouch. I'm like, that's real nice.
Yeah, it was empathic. It could have been a lot worse.
Was it?
Could have been. I felt your pain, But think about so let's say, but we might be arguing, technically speaking with football, it could be like, the referees. If it's college, it's about, should there be 8 teams in the playoff? Oh, should they run a West Coast offense? Should they run a spread? Should they run a zone blocking scheme, a cover 2, a 3-4? We're arguing over stuff like that, but it's mundane. I mean, what do we really know? And then 2, what does it really affect aside from the game? But now with politics, though, we're almost doing the same thing, but we're doing it with things that now very much affect us on a very personal level. It's not a secret to anybody that emotion is being used as a weapon right now in politics. And we're arguing about things, whether or not, one, we should even be worrying about it. Number 2, what's the order of operations of when we should do it? Who should pay for it? And then on top of that, if you don't go along with that, if you don't agree with me, well then you're the enemy. You're the enemy of the people. You're actually doing something that's going to put all of us in danger. And now it's almost like you're almost like not an American. And this to me is a problem.
If you depending on who you talk to, if you support Trump, right, you are a racist and Russian supporter. But if you are anti-Trump, then you are a socialist and a communist. Right?
Yeah.
And you hate America.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty
To
much,
some
yeah.
people, a lot of people, that's what they'll tell you.
It's one or the other. Pick a side.
Right. There's
Exactly.
nothing in between.
There is no, and exactly,
Are
and
you
that's
with us or not?
And that's what I the whole idea of my show being Gray Matter. It's that there is an in between, and we don't have to be pushed into it. But that's really what it's become. The more further right and further left our political parties have gotten, it really has become you're either with us or you're against us. And if you even say anything that's even a shade of gray, well, then you might as well be the other side.
Right.
And so it's a major issue. And then this immigration debate is the biggest one right now. In case you've been living underneath a rock, you realize our government's been shut down for the last 3 weeks, and it's been over this border
Are they
wall.
still collecting taxes?
Not right now. I mean, well, technically they say you're supposed to pay it.
No. Am I still paying taxes?
You are, yeah.
Okay,
Your
they're
paychecks
not
reflect
shut
the
down,
Yes,
folks.
yeah.
I know the people aren't getting
You're
paid.
supposed to pay them,
and you
but
can't go to the local parks. But guess what? They're not shut down.
no. And so everything's shut down. Not everything, but all right, things are shut down right now, and it's because of this border wall. And so a debate broke out. One of our friends likes to post memes, as our good friend Andy says. Memes are the new bumper stickers. And this one was basically, it was a comment about, okay, so you don't want to pay $5 billion for the wall, but you're willing to spend $155 billion for illegal immigrants to live in our country. And it was basically kind of like, if you're a Democrat, you're going to have a reaction to it. If you're a Republican, guess what? You're going to have a reaction to it. And so I kind of ventured into it. Me being the gray person that I am, my initial, was like kind of like both. It's like, you know what? I don't think we should be spending $155 billion on illegal immigrants. I think Democrats, are being completely naive and bleeding hearts. And I do think there's some shystiness to it. I do think there is some, hey, that's a great way of changing the electorate. I mean, everything is about politics. Right. Just like I think Republicans, like operatives, I think the people on the inside, I think they... Honestly, I think really, if we're being honest, I think it's the same thing with them. I think they realize that they could lose a lot of their electorate, and that's one of the biggest reasons why they don't want them to come in. I think it's a lot less than the money that we're spending basically on them. I don't really think it really is all that much about crime and their rapists, because you look at the numbers, they're in such a small minority of the total crime, it doesn't really make any sense, because they very well know what the numbers are. So I think it's kind of like the same deal. And so I kind of came at it from the middle of going, hey, I don't think we should be spending that. In the same breath, though, I was just like, I also think it's kind of absurd, though, that we have a guy who campaigned on, hey, we're going to build a wall And not only are we going to build this wall, Mexico's going to pay for it. And he said it 1,000 freaking times. And Mexico's going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it. I mean, literally, I think it is 1,000 times. And then here we are, flash forward 2 years, and a guy is shutting the government down because we're not giving him the money for it because we have to pay for it. And on top of that, this is only after, his Senate and Congress passed a budget bill. The conservative media like Ann Coulter, Rush Limbaugh chastised Trump for basically being a pussy and caving in, and then at the last second called everyone back. I mean, literally, the senators and congressmen were on their planes back home, and then the Congress went, no, we're going to repass it. This time we're going to give Trump his wall because Trump was going to look bad, and then decided to shut it down after that. And then after he said, I'm going to own this shutdown, that's on me, and then twist around and said, it's not my fault, it's the Democrats' fault.
Democrats. Just pass my budget.
So, and that's where I kind of came from. I'm trying to kind of wade the middle. But just like, we know on Facebook, obviously not everyone shared that sentiment. And so our good buddy Fro was kind of in the middle of it. And so I was like, F it, let's talk about this next. Because this is what everyone's really kind of talking about. We can talk about sports another night. So that was my kind of viewpoint. Help me understand, really, where are you coming at with this, man? Because I know you have a very strong opinion. What is your opinion, one, of just the shutdown? And I want to know, just I know you're a supporter. As a Trump supporter, what he campaigned on and what you're seeing now with us having to pay for it, what is your opinion of that? And then number two, like, where do we go from here? What?
Well, Mikey, we're definitely in a little predicament right now. And the thing with Trump and all the times he stayed in Mexico will build the wall, I remember during those campaigns, and they follow up, well, Mr. Trump, specifically, how will they pay for it? And he never really had a concrete answer. He didn't 2 years ago.
All he said, Mexico is going to pay for it. That's all he was saying. They're going to pay for it. Believe me. Believe me.
Mexico's going, huh?
Believe me. What if Vicente Fox said, we ain't paying for no fucking wall? Quote, unquote.
He's coming out now with a kind of a, I guess it's an explanation. Now is Mexico physically, hey, Mr. President Trump, here's a $5 billion check, cashier's check payable to you right now. No. But the new trade deals he signed up on is going to take a hit on Mexico's economy. They're going to lose out on quite a few $1 billion a year. Probably, what was the exact number? It's big. I mean, it's something like 50 to 100 billion a year less. So if that money is taken away from the trade balance and coming back more to our side, theoretically, the money's not paying for the wall, but our economy is going to be improving so much on the trade deficit. It's kind of a...
But technically,
it's piss in the bucket.
And I get that. But to me, though, that would be like, I mean, how would this go over if I call you guys and I go, hey, listen, I know you guys are throwing the party. Hey, I got pizza tonight. Tell you what, order like 100 pizzas, get the best pizza, get everything that you guys kind of want. Hey, when I get there, I'll pay you guys, right? Just go order it first, and I'll pay you when I get there, right? And then when I get there, hey, Mike, do you got that money? I put it on my credit card. Well, technically speaking, since you're having me drive you to work every day this week, and I'm saving you money on gas, well, that's me paying you. You would tell me to go fuck myself and submit me and just take my wallet, basically. So that, to me, if that would not be cool in any scenario in any one of our lives, why is it cool when our president is doing it on a very big thing?
Because it's us against them, quote unquote, and that's why. I mean, Trump can do no wrong to a lot of conservatives, and meanwhile, Trump can do no right to a lot of liberals. It doesn't matter. Tomorrow, Trump could cure AIDS, could cure cancer.
I agree.
Right?
No, I agree.
And there'd be some people going, took long enough.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Well, you know what? It was the complete opposite, polar opposite when Obama was in office. We talked about this.
Yeah, he could do no good.
So you turn to one news station, Obama walked on water. You turn to the other news station of the opposite beliefs, Obama literally was the devil.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no like, here's how it really is, guys. I don't know.
Well, and I think like with Fro, I mean, I think because you support the guy and you believe in the guy, you're going to define, I think, anything he does or says through that positive filter of, even though, let's say I disagree with it, or even if it is different, I still think at its heart he's trying to do what's going to be helpful. And so it's almost like you'll find a way to define something in a positive light, basically.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Oh, no, what are you going to say?
You know, I still look at Trump, though, as a rookie, because at the end of the day, he is not a career politician. And honestly, that's a big reason why he won this election. Because the last 30 years in Washington, status quo every year, the average American who's not really politically inclined, they pretty much just got tired of it. Let's shake it up. This guy's, throwing a lot of his own money in. He's going to run. He's pretty entertaining at the debates, let's be honest, whether you like him or hate him. Debate ratings were super high. And I think 80% of the people voted him because he wasn't a career politician. I truly believe that's why he won.
Now, do you disagree with or do you agree with the shutdown, that he should shut it down to get what he wants for that wall?
I think the argument of border security and keeping the country safe is a strong enough argument to not back in, or to maybe negotiate more, but he has to get something when it comes to the wall. Democrats have to give in a little bit. And I think he's already given a little bit. He's negotiated 2 or 3 different deals, but the Democrats are saying no wall. Nancy Pelosi, the wall is immoral, which I cannot figure out why she calls it immoral when there's a wall around her entire house in San Francisco. That's another thing.
Burn,
I don't know why walls are immoral. That's such a ridiculous
Zuckerberg
argument.
from Facebook, he said something. He went up and he gives his whole speech about how there should be no wall, and it was very, whatever. It was very wrong. And then they, immediately cut to his new house in Hawaii that was being built with a giant wall around it. That's funny how that works.
Well, I think that gets.
Well,
we talked about this in an earlier show of. It's the psychological factors, the human factors that they use in their electorate. They know the Democratic base is largely the bleeding heart, empathic. They know the conservatives use fear and anger. It's just how they know. I mean, that's why they use language like that. It's very carefully crafted and research informed. But I mean, Bill, do you think the same way? I mean, do you think the ends justify? I mean, do you think it should be shut down? Do you think he should be doing?
I don't know if it should necessarily be shut down, but to anyone that's kind of followed Trump or looked at his history, which I'm sure a majority of people kind of do, it shouldn't be that surprising. I mean, if you take a look at what he's kind of done to this point, he comes from a business world. I think he kind of knows how to play hardball when it comes to negotiation. I mean, look what he did with North Korea. I mean, it was, I'm not saying we were quite like the Cuban Missile Crisis, but there was a while there where part of me was wondering if we might actually have a nuclear incident with North Korea. I mean, he stood toe-to-toe with them and said, here's what's going to happen, or here's what's going to happen. And I just think Trump's playing hardball. I think that's what Trump does. Now, I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I just think that's the kind of person and businessman and politician that he is I think that's what he does. And he says, you know what? My best opportunity to get things done is to play hardball. Because I think it does work for him sometimes. It really does.
Now, what do you think, though, when he says, like, what was it, yesterday? He goes, well, I don't care about the furloughed workers because most are Democrats, right?
Yeah.
And then today, he basically says, well, no, I empathize. I understand what they're...
That was so yesterday.
So what? I mean, honestly, do you think that is going a little far? Is that a little too much kind of rhetoric?
I feel, in my personal opinion, at the end of the day, now I don't know how long this government shutdown is going to last, but in my gut, I ultimately feel like the pressure is probably on Trump to get it done when it's all said. Now, whether it goes another week, another month, another 6 months, I think historically they're going to look back and look at it more on Trump. Now, his only card, I think, now is to hold on tight. Because if he does get the wall, if it does go through and he, quote unquote, wins this, he's going to be able to look back historically. People say, well, yes, but he got his way. Now, if he holds on and continues to play this hardball and it goes a month or 2 months or 3 months and people go, and then he doesn't get the wall, I think it's just going to make him look bad. It's almost like when you're in an argument and you're losing the argument and you have nothing, you just have to that's your only weapon is just screw you. Like, I think it's the only card he's got left.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I mean, I kind of feel like maybe we need a wall, and it's not even that I think that, like, I don't know if the wall will help or not. I mean, it depends on who you talk to. Some people say, yes, it'll work. Other people say, you're out of your mind. I don't know. I think, I would like to see, immigration fixed. I don't know if that's the solution. I just think it's a start. I think the left and the right are saying, this is my hill to die on. Yeah. And that's it's almost like a symbolic thing at this point. Like,
I mean, Fred, what do you think? I mean, like when he made that comment about, they're all Democrats anyway, I don't really care. I mean, does that sit well with you, even as a Trump supporter?
Hey, I mean, at the end of the day, Donald Trump and the word filter don't go hand in hand.
Yeah.
They never have. And does it sit well with me personally? No, that's not a choice of words that should be used.
Do you think he meant it?
If he, in the heat of the moment when he was probably getting questions, somebody's reporters just boggle my mind. But he deep down, did he mean it? I'm not sure. I think in the moment it was so intense when he's getting asked, and I think he's just so frustrated that it just spilled out, and he doesn't have a filter. But again, a lot of people in this country, I think, do like that, whether they like it like him or not. The non-filter thing it's a different idea from a typical politician the last 30 years.
But I think this is where Trump, though, I think, has really doesn't understand what it takes to be president. I think Trump, he understood who his base was. I think Steve Bannon knew if you look at every president, the last three presidents, Bush, Obama, and now Trump, each one of them had to bring different people into the electorate and hold on to them. Bush had to bring the evangelicals in there. Obama had to bring the poor, the people of color. He had to bring that vote in there. He had to hold that coalition.
A lot of people that don't typically vote.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Trump had to bring in, the poor, middle, lower class, construction worker, coal miner, people that had been left behind.
I think he got a lot of the middle class. I think he got a lot of the middle.
He had a lot of the fuck it votes. What the fuck do we have to lose vote?
Right, a lot of people.
He got a lot of that. Like, fuck it. I mean, it doesn't matter who's gonna be elected. I'm gonna if it stays the same, I'm gonna be worse. So I mean, what the fuck do I have to lose? Yeah. But here's the problem though, is that the second you are elected and sworn in as president, you're not a Democrat Republican anymore. You're president to us all. And I think the thing that he has really screwed up on is that he doesn't mince his words. He is only president to his supporters. He does not like Democrats. He has not done or said anything that shows I am president to everybody. I'm only president to the people who support me, and if you don't support me, fuck you.
But it almost seems like to his base, that almost
that's his problem.
That's the thing, though.
That's the thing. I think he's trapped into it. His base. He has to keep doing it. That's ultimately why he changed his mind on the budget.
Well, that's why I think he's sticking to his gun. I think that's all he's got.
But this is a problem, though. When you're president, though, you have to do what's best for the country and not yourself. And I think he's crossed a line into I'm doing what's best for me. He even said it in private door meeting. He said, I'm going to look foolish if I agree to anything less when I'm demanding.
Right, but at the end of the day, though, I mean, let's put that aside. Like, you're right. He is going to look out for
and I'm not saying he's not unique to any other president or any other politician.
But I don't know. I mean, just because he's a jerk or just because he's stubborn, right, it doesn't necessarily mean that his ideas are not great. And I'm not saying that they are great. I'm just saying that doesn't mean he's not right. I don't know. Well, he might not go about it the right way, but at the end of the day, do the means, the ends justify the means?
Well, and this is a good segue into this last little part I wanted to kind of explore, because I think this is a part where I haven't found a lot of I haven't found a lot of logic for this one. The way I was coming at it, and I'm dying to get your guys' justification on this one, because the way I look at it, the way he got elected, was pays a saying, immigration and all the problems it's causing, right?
You called it great, the lean-in vote.
Yeah, the lean-in vote, right? I mean, so he's shutting down the government with his logic because this threat is so grave, so great that we have to do it, right? But then the thing is, though, I look at it as, and maybe he's privy to other things that I'm not, but I look at it going, all right, so when I'm in my office with people, Democrats, Republicans, and people are talking about what bothers them the most and what they're most worried about, and I even did on my Twitter, Gray Matters Radio, I did a poll about if you have children, what do you worry most about your children as they get older? I put down like crime, depression and suicide. I put down finding a job. I put down drugs, right? And by far and away, 60% of people, you know what they're worried about? I'm worried about my child being depressed or committing suicide. I had a lot of people write in saying I worry about bullying, depression, and suicide. But by far and away, and the thing is, that's what gets echoed to me. I hear people worried about, well, if I haven't had children, if I'm going to have children, I worry that, are they going to be autistic? Are they going to have something wrong with them? I worry about what's going to happen to my retirement, because I feel as though things are really messed up, and that I feel like, am I going to have a job? I worry about, really, my children are growing up in a world right now where I'm not even proud of it, and I feel as though it's affecting my kids. And 60% of people on my thing are saying that. I look at, I think we talked about in previous shows, that 70,000 people committed suicide last year. We had 45,000 people died from drug overdoses. We had 100 and some thousand people die. For me, a downstream result of society that we've created for our children. That, to me, that's a fucking threat that's going on right now. That's killing people now. And I look at where I don't see where immigration and our borders, I haven't found one data point, one anything that justifies this being the 4-alarm fire. The analogy I used before we went on the air, I go, it's like you bought a car for your family. Let's say it's your wife, your kids, your husband, whatever. And let's say tires are bald. Say the radiator is about to blow up. But let's say also the AC is busted. And let's say the interior is kind of torn up. If that was your family that was going to be driving in it, would you fix the AC first? And it's not to say, it's the summertime, depending where you live. It's hot. But the thing is, if the tires are bald or the brakes are busted, you're going to replace those things first. It's not to say the AC isn't important. It's just to say that, no, these other things are much more important. I'm going to invest in that first.
But what if your wife's saying, honey, I want the AC fixed?
I'm going to go, baby, I want you, but if it rains tomorrow, you're going to die. You're going to be really cold in the morgue.
But your wife goes, if you don't fix the AC, I might kill you myself.
But I don't think anyone's going to go, there's no brakes. No brakes. No brakes. That's the way I look at it. Now, mind you, we all might be different, right? But I look at the data, I look at the stats, I look at what people tell me. I look at I've looked at the crime reports of immigration. I've looked at the amount of terrorists that are coming in, what they've classified, where they come in. I do not see one single thing that even tells me this should be even in the top 5 things we should be spending money on, let alone sucking all the air out of the room and shutting our government down for. Now, that's me. You guys might have different viewpoints. Fro, you see my logic. Well, what is your logic? For how important all this is, what are you thinking?
I just, in the grand scheme of things, there are obviously more important issues nationwide. However, the $5 billion number, and when you look at the federal budget on a yearly basis, it's peanuts. That number is peanuts. And honestly, if the Democrats don't want to, negotiate on that or give in, he might go around it and find a way to he can appropriate military money to get it built. I'm not sure that's possible, but there's options out there. But it is ridiculous the government shut down, and we need to come to an agreement. But national security, even on a border wall, I still think it's an important issue. Right now we have. Was it 20-some million undocumented people in the U.S. right now? Is it undocumented?
Well, no one knows for sure.
Right.
It's tough because they're on. Yeah.
Well, so here's a question to follow up with that. What's an acceptable number? What as a country can we accommodate?
Well, and the problem is it's not. And I think most people will at least agree that it's not the illegal immigrants that work hard and have a job. And that don't commit crime that are the issue. That's I don't think that's it. In fact, in my opinion, it's gonna maybe sound crazy. I think we need more immigrants. I just think we have to have a better immigration system as a whole. I don't know. Somehow it's like everyone's like, well, like I said, Democrats, some liberals will tell you that there should be no borders. There should be no ICE. There should be nothing, right? Just let everyone in. And in theory, that sounds great, but in reality, though, it's just you can't do that. A lot of liberals will tell you that there are too many people with a low working wage. But my question is, how do you expect that wage in general to go up when you let in millions of people who are only qualified for a low working wage. That well, that's one. That's one. There's a lot of, and trust me, it goes both ways.
But think about it. So like we had that number, 155 billion, right? Spent on
That's what they say.
So let me throw a number out at you.
Yeah.
504 billion. You know what that number is? That's the dollar amount for opiate overdoses that was added to the that was the cost of healthcare.
How much is it?
504 billion. Think about it.
Walls.
Well, do you think? And I know this is a little off the subject. Do you think that they should? Do you think legalizing drugs would help that or hinder or make that number go up? I know that's a debate too.
Honestly,
it's almost like the wall. It's one of those things where you don't know.
I think it's a society. Me personally, I think it's a societal issue. I think we're looking at the downstream fix of everything. We're not asking. John Kelly on his way out was talking about. If we want to, we're sitting there talking about building a wall. Right. He straight up said, he goes, we need to be asking ourselves, why is there so much demand? You stop the demand of drugs.
Again, that's another thing, the chicken and the egg. Is it because there's too much demand, or is it because the drugs that are coming in are causing the demand? If the drugs were never here.
I think it's all demand. It's the same reason why the sex trade has gone so much. The sex addiction rates have gone up.
Hold on. No, wait a minute. Now, sex is a natural thing that the majority of us are born with.
But people have an addiction to it, though.
They
it's
do.
Same neurochemical.
But you would have discovered sex, right? I don't know how we got.
Yeah, but having sex with a 12-year-old kid being imported in from Honduras.
I get it. Okay, but what I'm saying is, though, I don't know where we got.
It's all. It's. You talk to it. Literally, it's all about. They would not be selling it.
No. I get it. I get it. But what I'm saying is, like when it comes to opioids or heroin or cocaine or whatever it is. If that stuff was not around, you know why I never got into drugs? Because it was never around, right? I used to roll with you. And Fro here.
It was there.
Well, but not
you just had to go and get it.
Not amongst us, though.
But
we wouldn't show up to a party on the weekend and be like, "Hey, man, I got a."
But if you look at it's free. It's a market economy.
Yeah.
That you would not have a market for anything unless people bought it. It's the basic rules.
I
mean, literally, if you look at the drugs that have come in, they are proportional to the drugs that people are demanding. And then when the demand goes down, then it goes up on the other side.
But what if that product causes you to become addicted?
Put it this way, if it was going to work, okay, the war on drugs would have worked. If they would have stopped, if stopping the flow of drugs was the answer, it would have worked 30 years ago. We've spent over $1 trillion on the war on drugs. The problem is, and this is what Americans don't want to talk about, our society, we're raising, literally, from the time kids are 2 years old, we're training them to be, I want more, and I want more. I bought this, now I want this. If I bought this, I want this. We're literally neurochemically making all of our kids into not just consumers, but neurochemical, I want something, and then we build up a tolerance to it, I want more. And then we wonder why then we've raised an entire generation of kids that are just don't want to feel, they're impulsive, they want what they want it now.
Doesn't that kind of go with the territory of being, in one of the better countries in the world? I mean,
capitalism at its finest.
Capitalism. It's
and that's where I look at that's where I think we're at a point now in society where I think we do have to start looking in the mirror and asking ourselves, going, okay, it's obvious that we probably do need to change some things. And I think the problem is, I think a lot of the hardcore liberals, they want change and they want it now, and they want to change it right off the bat, and it's just going to crash the economy, right? You can't, right? But then the thing is, this whole social Darwinism thing of like, well, 100% capitalist, I think our children are the collateral damage. And to me, as being a parent, I don't like that risk factor. I think, but it's individuals. I think we have our own responsibility. And I think we need to take a step back going, okay, now we've seen it with our current political climate. We have people aren't talking to each other. It's the ugliest it's ever been.
It's too divided. It's either you are on this side or you're on this side. And then you have somebody like, say, me. Now I voted for Obama in 2012. I supported Trump in 2016. And it's not because I am a Republican or a Democrat or anything like that. It's simply based on who was running at that time, who I thought would mess up this country the least. Now, We won't know until it's all said and done how that actually works out. But, what is someone like me who has arguably just as many liberal views as I do quote-unquote conservative views, and there's no candidate really for someone like me, and I'm sure there's a lot more people like me, where it's like, well, this candidate believes in this strongly, which is what I believe in, but they believe in this, which I do not. And it's like you have to almost decide what kind of concessions do you want to give up and say, okay, well, I am, pro-choice, but I am also, for the death penalty, but I am also for less government, but I also believe that, gays should be able to get married. It's just I'm like, where do I fit?
All right, so let me ask you this then. All right, so let me ask you this one. All right, if there was a challenge to Trump in a primary, somebody that believed in everything he believed in but didn't bring the rhetoric, would you vote for Trump? Would you vote for that person?
So he's on board with everything.
Everything Trump is on board with, but they were completely none of the divisiveness, none of the rhetoric was a lot more conciliatory.
Are they a career politician, or are they outside the box?
It could be. It could be. I guess you can do different scenarios. If they were a career politician, but a career politician you trusted, or what was it? What if it was, an outside person, but wasn't all the rhetoric? Would you vote for Trump, or would you vote for that person?
If it was not a career politician, I would give serious thought to it. I would.
Wow.
But not a career politician. No. It's not going to do it for me.
What? Okay. Bill, what about you? Would you?
I kind of agree with Dave here. I mean, the problem with career politicians is they flip and flop so much they're going to,
you wouldn't trust it at all.
Well, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, now you believe in this. Right.
So now the thing is about
so it's hard to say.
The thing about, because we're going to have, I think, a lot of people. I think there's going to be a big challenge at Trump, and I think that's a big statement. What you both are saying is that if somebody came up without the divisiveness, was probably an outsider, and believed in everything, but that would not bring the rhetoric, that I think I would trade it in. And I think that's the thing where it's like, I think a lot of people are going, I believe it so strongly in the things that he believes in, I'm willing to let go. I'm willing to put up these other things. But if somebody else came around and they didn't bring all that rhetoric, I think I would vote for him, because I don't want that rhetoric. I don't think it's necessary. And if I had a choice, I think I would choose a non-rhetoric version. I think Trump, and that's the thing where me personally, I think Trump is making the same mistake that Hillary made with Michigan, Pennsylvania, and almost Ohio, taking for granted that blue wall, that they're going to vote for me regardless, and then just totally neglecting it. I think Trump is, one, overestimating the independents, and that's why I love Ohio, is that we're not a gimme state. Yeah, you're going to have you're going to have some strong left and right people, but the reality is that you have to earn your fucking vote here. There's a lot of people that are going, listen, I'm just not going to vote for you just because. And between a lot of the stuff he said about them, I know he's pissed off a lot of military people with just all the rhetoric that he's brought in during their
True, but is the military really going to vote Democrat?
So my insider with the military, one of the co-hosts of the other show, Ivan Ron, he's been saying that there's a 10% drop before Thanksgiving among the active duty. And that was before his Thanksgiving address. That was before his Christmas address, and that was before he fired Mattis. And we've had all these generals now coming out basically saying the rhetoric is more damaging to this country than anything. So I think he's taking that for granted. We were talking on the radio just today about tariffs and how a lot of the farmers are in a lot of trouble because this trade war has gone on too long and they've lost a lot of contracts. They're not getting checks, and they're not going to get those contracts back, and they're hurting, and they're really worried, and they're holding him 100% responsible. And if he doesn't figure out a trade deal fast, they're going to be screwed. People are going to lose their farms next year. That's how quickly.
That's what I think about with the government furlough. That's why I think eventually, at the end of the day, it will be on him.
And I think the problem is, though, this is where people always argue about whether or not Trump has mental illness or whatever. Everybody who runs for president is a narcissist, right? Everybody.
I mean,
now,
he does, but
you gotta look at every major successful person, CEO. Pretty much all of them would fall somewhere in that narcissistic personality spectrum, right? Now, here's the thing, though. There is a subset, though, where it's so clinical to where when push comes to shove, okay, when it's either me or other people. What am I going to choose? And this is where it's going to get interesting with Trump, is that this is where you want to know there's going to be one litmus test. If he is clinically on that angle, is he going to be willing to put the country first? His kids are probably going to get indicted, let's be honest. We know they lied, right? Now, whether or not Mueller and all them are going to prosecute them, I don't know. But if they decide to, they were going to be in a lot of trouble.
Trump could pardon them,
but the thing is, if they do that, now you start getting obstruction because they did it smartly. They did it in the state of New York, that district that's over there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The problem is though, is that you can't pardon for state, and the reality is, if it's him or his kids, who's he going to deter? What's he going to do? Does he have the ability? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know, but it's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot, and I think it's going on the Democratic side too. Is Pelosi and all of them so narcissistic, so about playing politics? Are they going to overestimate this mandate, thinking that this was about Democrats, or was it about anti-incumbents? And are they going to sit there and just try to play hardcore politics once again? Are they going to put party above country?
Of course they will.
Yeah.
The party always comes, the party comes second. The special interest groups, they'll always come first. Party comes second. The party comes second, and then us, we come maybe third or fourth.
Well, and this is where I think it's going to start getting interesting. I think out of I think out of some really bad I think it's out of some really bad situations. I think sometimes it can really make people who, maybe stand up a little bit and kind of go, you know what? I think maybe it's time for a little bit of a change. Maybe it's time, So I put another poll up, and it was about 50-50, but it was slightly more about maybe it is time for a third independent party. Now, I'm going to give a shout-out to an organization. They're about launching. I'm actually trying to get them on our radio show, either our podcast or our syndicated show, or even both. It's uniters.org. They're a grassroots network by and for centrist, independent, and moderate voters. It's literally about trying to get a third party started. When I put my poll up, the gentleman that helps run this organization found it, reached out to me. We've been talking a little bit, and they're doing some really cool stuff. And I think maybe the time now is for people maybe to start developing that third party where you have a lot of moderate centrist people where it's about, this is a marriage. Put it this way, we're all married in this room. And I've seen it in couples counseling where when I know there's no going back is when each side has been so hurt by the other where it's like, I don't give a shit. I'm not compromising. I don't give a fuck. If you want to stay married, especially to the person that you chose, you got to compromise. You cannot dig your heels and go, well, fuck it. You have hurt me so bad. It's been so unfair. No, fuck it. I'm not giving in on this. The second you do that, the second your marriage is over. And if you want to stay married, you might be angry. You might be frustrated, but eventually you swallow your pride, you find a compromise, and you work through it because you love the person, you want to be them. Our Congress, our government is an arranged marriage. They didn't even pick each other. No. And the thing is, this game we're playing of, I don't have to work with you. No, I'm not going to. Well, you did this to me. Well, you did that to me. Well, you did this to me 5 years ago. Well, I'm going to. You know what? Fuck that. This is a marriage. And if in our own marriages we realize we have to compromise with why it's fucked, in an arranged marriage, it's even more required. And if we have people, whether it be media pundits, whether it be the party leaders, the congressmen, the presidents, if they are not willing to compromise, well, then it's up to us as voters to go, what? I'm only going to vote for somebody that is going to compromise. And if a Democrat or Republican, because of the way the financing works, because of the lobbyists, can't do it, that's when it's time for a third party. That's when you need to have people that have balls in Congress, the Senate, people running right now going, you know what? I might be a little more of a Democrat. I'm a Democrat. I might be more of a Republican, but you know what? I think we do need to compromise. I do think we need to find some middle ground. Regardless of what's been done before this, my job of why I'm running is because what's best for the good. When go to the country is that we have to find a way of compromising. And this is, you know what, maybe there is that third party, that home where I can get some funding, where I can get some support, some grassroots organization, and I can get elected.
Well, I'd love to say that happened, but the problem is, you think it's divided now. You think some people think that the media is unfair now. Imagine a legitimate third party candidate, and then you would have all of them coming after that person. You would have CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all of them telling you how crazy.
And that's why I
this
think
third-party
what's
thing is.
required, and I think
Right,
what's
because
really
that's
cool, and
you
I
know.
can't make any announcements now, because
Right.
I don't want to put but we'll just say that myself and some other well-heeled, well-oiled individuals are, we're trying to develop some type of network, some type of media presence
The
to
resistance.
where a legitimate, independent media presence to where there's a home for independence, and I think that is necessary. But I also think there needs to be legitimate grassroots organizations, and that's why I encourage all my listeners go to uniters.org. Take a look at some of the stuff that they're doing. I know that they're launching a lot of their stuff in January. I know they're and what's really cool about it is that my conversations with the gentleman, his name's Solomon. What's really cool in my conversations with him is that he's like, listen, man, this isn't about like what are we going to do for you? It's like, no, we
Right.
need people to get involved because you're right, it is an uphill battle. But
Sure.
if it's going to work, we need people to get involved and take some ownership over it. And I do 1,000% agree.
Well, it's not just that people have to want it
Yeah.
to have a change. They have to be to want to have more than just two options.
But think about it. I mean,
takes
like
a ton of work.
I know, but
That's
like think
exactly
about
what
like
it
so.
is.
But
Right.
Fro, I
It
mean,
can be done. It's
if there
just-
was a legitimate centrist independent party, is that a candidate you could get behind if it was about, listen, like I'm a little left of center, but this is where I think we need to do, or I'm a little right of center, but we need to compromise, and this is how I think we need to go about this. And depending on who's in power, depending what, I'm going to work with it. Is that someone you could get behind?
I'm opening to listening. I mean, I'd have to have specific ideas. I mean, but it's definitely something I would give the time of day to for
Yeah.
sure.
Bill?
But
Yeah.
I think you know me well enough to know that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, my loyalties do not lie too deep. I'm always going to go with what I think is best for this country, and for me, my family, my country. Absolutely.
I think it's time. I mean, honestly, I radically, I think it is time. Too many people, I think, to me, they could be the most powerful party in the government, because you couldn't put out some bullshit if, like, you had, let's say, 20% even of Congress as an independent party, or not even independent, they're a third party, it's centrist, right? You couldn't put out a bullshit far left or far right bill because you could not get that middle party to go along with it. You would literally design your entire bill to literally take into account that group to get them on board. That, to me, is the most powerful party. Whether or not they even become president is really here and now. It really doesn't even matter. It's more a matter of, can you get enough people in Congress to even the dial to make people keep them honest? To make people have to come closer to the center.
I think there's two things a third party has to accomplish, and I mean, I'm not sure how Perot did it back in '92 or it was '91. Two numbers in my head. One, you need pretty much $1 billion to run for president. That's the number now. It's $1 billion. If you want the media, the campaign, the traveling.
How much did Trump do it though, man? Trump did it for what? Less than
Well, but I
less than
think-
that.
Well, half of it was his own money, and he had some.
Right,
Hillary's
well,
over $1
yeah.
billion.
But let's
Hillary,
be honest,
Obama.
Candidates
Yeah.
run because they need the recognition. Trump already had the recognition,
Yeah.
so that's why I think he had to spend less. That's the only
Yeah,
reason why.
but no, good point. Yeah, but yeah, you need a lot of money.
And number two, how do you? I mean, you have to figure out a way. Now, Pro did it with NBC, Fox, CBS. How do you get them on national debates?
So now, all
to
you
get on
need
the
is the
debate.
numbers, right?
Well, put it on PBS.
Yeah.
The PBS is a publicly
But
funded
well,
network.
I think all
Put it
you
on
need is
PBS.
X amount
Everybody
of
gets it over the air.
in your primaries. I think in polling, all you need is X amount of support to get on there, right? And I think that's why I think
What's that number?
guys, what 10%? I think I can't remember.
Perot got 20% of the popular vote. Does that sound right?
Well, Perot was before the first before the first time he pulled out, he was beating all of them.
See, I forgot that he pulled
Yeah.
out. And granted,
He
I was
pulled
in
out
eighth grade,
once.
but I
Yeah.
forgot
Yeah,
that he
'cause he
pulled
said
out.
his
and he
main
jumped.
thing was
Why
just
did he pull out?
he pulled. I think if I recall, like it was. Let's get my dad on the next time.
Texas instrument.
Nah, it was just more about. He said, just I wanted to rattle the system and get these guys honest, but then he dropped out. And then I think he had second thoughts, but then when he came back and he never got that support back, but
yeah,
he was
you're
winning
done.
in the polls, yeah.
You're done at that point.
But no, you're right. I mean, but not. I had a plan around that though. So if you really look at what cost campaigns so much as advertising dollars, consultants, but the thing is, I look at if you have a well-heeled volunteer network of computer geeks, marketing people that are willing to do the work for free. you would save hundreds of millions if you had a network of an unpaid, like instead of like giving me $20, hey, give me 20 hours, give me 10 hours a week of SEO work. Give me some Facebook posting work. You had an army of people. I mean, hell, that's what the Russians did. They had an army of people posting shit, and they literally helped. I don't think they swayed it and won it. I think Hillary lost it, but I know they definitely swayed some numbers.
They didn't hurt it. They didn't hurt it.
It looks
Trump.
so.
I'll
If
give
it
them
works
that,
for
absolutely.
them,
Yeah.
it can work for a third party. But it would take people volunteering that believed in it, going, "I don't want your money, but I want your time."
It would be a great, interview or a great poll or investigation is to find out how many people. I know it'd probably be impossible, but how many people were actually swayed, were going to vote for Hillary, who were swayed by this supposed Russian propaganda. I don't know how you could find that, but I would love to know if it exists.
My gut. The thing is, if we're being honest, I think the people that would believe those things were probably going to vote for Trump anyway.
Sure.
I'd say maybe. I think
people are more,
maybe
more
2%, 3 max.
They're more appalled about the fact that the Russia was able
exactly.
just to even
Yeah. So, but the thing, it's kind of like what do they say in football, right?
Yeah.
If you know what, if
it's like Pete Rose. Even though you voted on the Reds, you can't, or even though you bet on the Reds, you can't bet on baseball.
I look at it like this.
Too
All right,
close.
it's like in football, right? A lot of times, especially this year, we've seen a lot where referees have decided a game, right? But the whole idea is that, you know what, if you leave it to where 3 points is going to lose you a game, you know what, it's too close for comfort anyway. It shouldn't be that close to where 3 points is going to lose a game, because you know what happens? Shit happens. A crazy thing will happen, and that's life. So, but I think we've learned a lot tonight, and this is why, a lot of podcasts are all about, let's get this guest. And my whole idea of my podcast is that, you know what? I'm sick of hearing pundits. I'm sick of hearing an expert for this thing, an expert for that. And an expert has a role, and I love having them on it. But this is about Americans being heard. This is about the real conversations we're all having. And I mean, think about tonight as, we had some big discussions. Hey, listen, we might have agreed or disagreed with our logic of the wall, how important it is. Should other things be valued more? We've all probably walked away and learned some different things. And we might have some differing viewpoints still, but now we understand each other a little bit more. And literally, one big thing we learned is that, listen, none of us like the rhetoric in here, regardless if you voted for Trump or not. We don't like it. And if someone else came along with the same beliefs and I trust them, they're an outsider, I probably wouldn't vote for him. If there was a legitimate third party, I would listen to what they have to say. And I think there's a lot to be kind of learned by that. So any last words, Fro? Any last words before we bug out of here?
Mike Devine, I'd like to thank you for the invite tonight. I am still a supporter of a border wall with additional security features besides the wall, and I hope there could be a deal done in Congress, because I definitely government shutdown at the end of the day really isn't helping the country. There's a lot of employees that are not getting paid right now, and that's horrible. I'd hate to be in that situation. I can't imagine being in that situation. So hopefully a deal can be done and we can move on. And it's going to be a hell of an election year in 2020. I just can't imagine. I think it's going to be times 10 what we saw in 2016.
Hope they get their big kid pants on really quickly. Yeah.
So thank you, sir.
So no. Fro, thanks for and the thing is, like, if we can get our particular guest to come on here in the next week or so, we're trying to get an insider that is trying to come on with condition of anonymity. I definitely want you to come back on, and so we can kind of ask some of these questions that might help inform our decision a little bit better. So I think that's
absolutely
direly important. So, absolutely. But no, Fro, thank you, my man. Bill, any last words before we bug out of here?
Yes, I would just like to say that I am also in support of a border wall if it does actually help our country and possibly reduce money spent, and again, you hear about the cost of it versus what goes out every year on illegal immigrants. So I would be very interested to hear from the anonymous ICE source on whether or not they think the wall is worth it, and if it would actually help. Mm-hmm. If it helps, I'm all for it. I mean, again, I am all for what's best for the country. If it helps, great. If it doesn't help, then don't do it. So, that's how I look at it. Let's forget about, but I think it's too symbolic at this point.
Yeah.
I think it's a symbol for hardcore left, hardcore right, and there's nothing wrong with that. Have your beliefs, but I just think I think it's something that they're hill to die on. So we'll see how it plays out. My gut tells me I don't know. You think this wall's getting built and when it's all said and done?
No, I mean, I'm all in favor. And Fro, you and I talked about this on offline, but I was like, I'm all about the Area 51 style rapid response team. If Area 51 has to, where you step on their land and within 2 minutes, but see, my whole plan was have a wall under the major ports of entry where a wall makes sense, but especially the remote areas. I'm all about having drones and sensors, have a proximity, I think have like a rule of like 15 minutes, and have bases set up like a rapid response team that if a sensor gets kicked off, a drone gets kicked off, you have a rapid response team like Area 51 that will be there within 15 minutes. And the thing is, your drones are going to be following them the whole damn time anyway. I think to me that's better because you got to look at the way the drugs are coming in. They're coming in underground.
Well, I was going to say that,
I mean, a wall ain't going to do shit for the drugs that are coming in.
There are other things that go on as well besides just illegal immigrants. I mean, like look at the human trafficking that goes on, the sex trafficking. Yeah. I mean, these are other real things that, whether you love the wall or hate the wall, these are things that it may actually help. I don't know. I just
look at it has to be a combination of both, I have
a fence around my yard for a reason.
Yeah, but it makes sense, right? But you got to look at, all I can say is $20 million a mile for a wall is a lot. I guarantee you. And that's where I'd be curious to talk to like a nice person, right? Of going, hey, what would the cost be? And especially over years of a rapid response sensor-based drone thing. I don't know.
Look at how our government spends, though. Let's be honest, though. What is it? $5 billion for a wall? Is our government the way that we know them? Are they really going to spend on something?
All right. So that's a whole. All right. That is a whole different topic for another show. Of if we're really serious about finding money, how about these stupid sweetheart deals that everyone gets? I mean, our good buddy Ron, the veteran, he said, dude, they have hundreds of millions of dollars of unaccounted for money, just gone, poof, missing, right? But all right, another conversation another day. But you guys know where I stand. As I said, I think combination.
But I got a letter from the city of Columbus talking about, I'm sorry, you owe us $119. We underbilled you.
Oh, really?
We must have that.
And then, meanwhile, the jail company that you hired stole $13 million, and you're on the hook for $9 million of it. So you're coming after me for $117? $117?
They did do that to me a couple years back. I was like, really?
Bastards.
You're really missing that?
Either the state or pennies and nickels.
Either the city or the state. I can't remember. I was like, come on.
It's just, gosh, it's crazy out there. But the thing is, we have to compromise. That's the reality. Is that what's going to happen? We have to compromise. That's what it comes down to. We're in an arranged marriage. We're all in this together. We can't hate each other. We can't let the politicians do what they've been doing, which is turning us against each other. It's the only way they win. Is they turn us against each other. We hate each other. We fall for their BS. No. We have to be educated. We have to look at it from both sides. And even if we disagree so much to where we can't agree in any way, shape, or form, believing what we do, guess what? Just like in marriage, we find a way of compromising. We swallow our pride. If you're going into the public sector, you cannot do what is best for you or your party. Yeah, your pride might get hit if you do something, but guess what? It's not about your fucking pride. It's about what is best for this country. It's not that's going to hurt the party in 2020. I don't give a fuck. If it's going to help the people, that's what is the decision to make. That's what every politician should be saying. I don't want to hear it's going to hurt the party. I don't want to hear how's it going to affect us in 2020. I don't give a fuck. Because you know what? If it's best for the country, that is the only litmus test. End it there. And I want to hear candidates say that. You show me a candidate that says that, that's a candidate that's going to start getting my vote. That, to me, is where a central independent party comes in. But I'm just one man, one radio show. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe a couple. Maybe it's like I'm like a disease, like herpes. You listen to my show, you get it, and you can't unget it, and it just follows you everywhere. I'm like luggage. Forever.
Got to use a lot of makeup, Mike D.
Oh, makeup. I love it. A lot of gray makeup. So on that note, it's been a long day. I have a victory to celebrate. I'm going to drink another beer. I'm going to rib Bill a little bit more, but then I'm going to give him a hug and send him off. Fro, thank you, my man, for as always coming on the air. We're gonna have you come back, Bill. We'll see you next week as always, man.
I can't wait till next week when our guest will be Hubert.
Yeah, hopefully we get him. Cross some fingers, we'll do it. And
if we do 3 shows, do we get a buffet?
Won't be him.
Oh, we do. Yeah, we'll do food next time, man. So on that note, let's get out of here, everybody. So so everybody, it's real as always, and just remember, the next time somebody asks you, "Hey, man, you a Democrat? You a Republican?" You go, "Fuck that noise. My ass is gray." Yeah. All right, everybody. See you later. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Gray Matters Radio with Michael Devine. For more episodes and information, visit us online at graymattersradio.com. Join the conversation by following Gray Matters Radio on Facebook and Twitter. Gray Matters Radio is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more live episodes of this and other great shows, download the free HC Universal Network app at hcuniversalnetwork.com. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, remember, think about the gray.